Bobbers versus choppers. Both of these builds are extremely popular, and I love a good bobber and a good chopper. But I find these two terms kind of get intertwined quite a bit, so let's talk about what, in my opinion, makes a bobber and what makes a chopper. First, let's start with bobbers. Bobbers typically involve removing any unnecessary parts from a bike and slimming it down as much as possible while still maintaining the structural integrity and rideability of the bike. For example, removing big, bulky seats and replacing them with slim seat pans, or swapping out the rear fender with a smaller fender, or even mounting the fender to the swing arm itself. Just removing anything on the bike that's cosmetic or anything that doesn't need to be there, and making the bike as slimmed down as possible while still keeping the rideability of the bike. Now, bobbers are actually what got me into motorcycles or even just cruisers in general. I just loved how raw and stripped down bobbers looked, and that's actually what sparked a Rebel 250 build, which was also my very first bike ever. After the Rebel 250, I picked up and bobbed out a V-Star 650, which is now actually my wife's bike. But yeah, love me a good bobber. Now let's talk about choppers. Choppers take everything that we just learned about bobbers and ups the ante like 50 levels. Now in my opinion, I don't think a bike can be considered a chopper if the frame hasn't been chopped. For example, chopping the tail end off of a Sportster and welding on a hardtail, or chopping off the neck so you can change the rake of the forks. Like, this is what I would consider a Sportster bobber, and this is what I would consider a Sportster chopper. As you can see, they're very different builds. I also find that choppers tend to be a lot more experimental with the builds too. Since you are altering the frame of the bike, it really opens up an unlimited amount of options of what you can do with it. You can add some wild things like jockey shifters, crazy rake angles, just it gets wild. Also find that choppers sacrifice the rideability that bobbers kind of maintained for style and character. Now, whether or not that sacrifice is worth it is completely up to you and how ballsy you want to be with your build. But that would be a super quick rundown in the differences between the two in my personal opinion. I love both types of builds. Also, just like as a disclaimer, like I'm just a guy. Like, I'm not some big bike guru or anything like that. This is all just my personal opinion after riding the last few years and just seeing what's out there. But I'd love to know if you agree or disagree with this video.